You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
The gentleman who built a career in the right-wing community of saying offensive things, racist things. This is a commentary by a gentleman on YouTube who happened to run into Renaldo Gouws at the airport. He said that Renaldo was called out for this around the time he became a member of parliament. We're talking about Mighti-Jamie, who claims to be a law student, but seems to have very poor grasp of actual law.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simonstown and Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa.
Now, it's true that the Independent Online smear campaign began after Renaldo entered Parliament. However, Mighti-Jamie's omission here is striking, intentional, and dishonest. The viewer is left with the impression that Renaldo Gouws is running around saying these things today that people find offensive. Nothing could be further from the truth. Also, was it not Mr. Jamie who on his Twitter account asked his audience on June 14th to dig up racist dirt on Renaldo after he went to Parliament? Isn't this the guy responsible for fomenting this whole narrative in the first place? Folks, this is ambush sensationalism, hectoring, hassling. There's no interest in the truth. Gouws mentioned the press ombudsman decision against the IOL for breaching the press code when Jamie interviewed him. But Mighti-Jamie has zero interest in cogent, honest conversation. All he's interested in is perpetuating a narrative. Ask yourself why. Now, detractors will claim that I'm not objective, that Renaldo's a friend and I'm defending him. True, I know Renaldo relatively well at this stage, and one may even say he's a friend. We've done weekly vlogs together discussing politics for the past few years. However, I have on many occasions expressed how his left-of-center liberal positions are not in alignment with my centrist and right-of-center positions. This video is not a defense of Renaldo, but rather a commentary on ambush sensationalism.
I recall what I said.
I can have the court reporter read back to you.
I know what I said. I don't have to have it read back to me.
If Jamie had listened to what Renaldo was saying, acknowledged the press council verdict against the IOL, placed his combative questions in context, then perhaps we might have heard something of value here. But this was a crass piece of pure opportunism that intentionally victimized Gouws seeking attention and fame. It was not a quest for the truth. Unfortunately, this is the norm of what passes as journalism in South Africa. He had to waylay a willing bystander to be his cameraman, and the guy gleefully said, "Let's do this thing. Let's go be radical." Be radical. Now, Mighti-Jamie appreciates the gentleman for doing that, and Jamie sharing the cameraman's gleeful comment is telling here. Like a made-for-television show, this was all fake and, for a fact, not an effort to get to the truth. Jamie offers reasons why he felt, as he says, he needed to speak to this guy. Not the member of parliament sitting over there, this guy. They're talking about disrespect. Number one, he said, Renaldo has not done any media interview. There are so many platforms where he could do an interview. He then lists several black South Africans and says that there are so many people who could have a conversation with him about why his comments were received in the way they were. Well, it's not a conversation he wants to hear, but rather a condescending lecture is what he means. So if Gouws presents himself at an altar of Jamie's choosing to repent and reform for a transgression never committed, then all is forgiven? Now, the second reason he says that he confronted Renaldo is he wanted to know why he told a lie about artificial intelligence manipulation being responsible for the comments. Now, I think that's important, he says. Well, it's a fair question, Jamie, but again, either willful ignorance or Mighti-Jamie himself is lying. The video is clearly edited.
I'll answer the question.
Well, now, why Renaldo Gouws said AI is indeed a puzzling question, but given the way that the Independent Online ran this story and the lack of time they gave him to address it, and its egregious violations of the press code, perhaps that contributed to the use of incorrect terminology. It's unclear. But then Jamie never asked this of Renaldo in his ambush interview. He says that's his reason for asking him, for meeting with him, for having this interview, this ambush interview. But then he never asked the question of him. Mighti-Jamie thinks Renaldo does need to answer that question. That's fair enough. So why didn't you ask it, Jamie? Were you too caught up in the joy of the ambush? Kind of like how a leopard springs from a tree and enjoys his meal? He goes on and says he represents everyone. He doesn't just represent the right wing. And there he exposes his personal bias and uninformed position. Right wing? I suppose anytime you veer from the accepted leftist doctrine on any issue, you become the feared right wing. Jamie continues. He represents the hopes and aspirations of the poor children, and he lists a bunch of poor locations in South Africa. In the same way that Joyce Malema and Zwelin Mkhize do. Jamie also mentions places where poor black South Africans live around the country, saying that as a member of parliament, Gouws represents them, inasmuch as he represents the hopes and aspirations of someone who's living in Sea Point, in Hout Bay, or in the depths of Stellenbosch. I assume there are people there who view him as upholding their hopes and aspirations. Now, folks, is this supposed to be some sort of racist dog whistle directed at white folks? What's with that gratuitous comment? So he says, I think he should have done an interview. Okay, first off, my question is this guy for real? Does he know nothing about the law, courts, lawsuits? His Twitter account lists him as a law student. The South African Human Rights Commission has filed a case against Gouws in the Equality Court. Renaldo is not in a position to grant an interview at present. Does Mighti-Jamie live in a cave? Has he been hanging out on St. Helena? Of course not. He is simply being disingenuous. I do not think the DA has done a genuine disciplinary process. And he had the following to say. I don't think they spoke to witnesses. I don't think that they asked anybody to submit complaints. They did not share the nature of the charge against him. And they made the announcement because they thought that this thing was going to harm their opportunity to get into the government in the government national union. So this is the question I have. Who exactly is Mighti-Jamie talking to? Where is he getting his information from? What sources share these facts with him? None, of course. There's no source. This is all conjecture and his opinion, all of which he's entitled to. But he's not entitled to slander Renaldo Gouws with his opinion. Facts matter. Also, there are no charges to share from the DA. His political party is investigating whether there is any merit to the false allegations in the IOL smear piece. If they have evidence, then there would be a disciplinary hearing with charges. Jamie has his donkey before the cart. It's striking that Jamie seems to have little grasp of how things work. It's not up to the DA to sanction him in Parliament. That's the role of Parliament. It's also striking how Jamie and others do not mention the government of South Africa has taken no action in this matter. Parliament is not taking action. Why? Likely because there's no violation of law here. But then the goal of the IOL and the rabid left is not for a criminal conviction, but a guilty verdict in the court of public opinion. That is why so many content creators, the IOL, and others keep piling on with lies, distortions, and misinformation. They don't want the truth. You can't handle the truth. The irony in all this is that a youthful Renaldo Gouws made a poor decision to utter words a white South African may never utter under the double standards of Mzansi. Words he clearly disavowed and stated were hyperbole to make a point about hypocrisy, that they were not his personal sentiments or views. Now that's something that seems to be lost in the current narrative. And he has been successful beyond his wildest dreams in making that point 15 years ago. And look at what's going on now. And most people don't even see the irony of it. Now, Malema still runs around spewing racial hatred about cutting the throat of whiteness in Nelson Mandela Bay, calling for the killing of all whites. Well, not just yet, he said, and glorifying the murder of white farmers. Mighti-Jamie is not ambushing Jewish Malema at airports. Now, why is that, do you think? Does he agree with Malema's bigotry? I have no idea. But what I do know is that Renaldo was spot on 15 years ago, as he is today. Honest, genuine people would watch the entire unedited video, read the newspaper reporting about this story 5 years ago, and watch the South African documentary in the news filmed over a decade ago that included Renaldo's video in a production about disaffected young black and white South Africans. A genuine person would reach far different conclusions than he's guilty, the one that Jamie has already arrived at. His third excuse for the ambush is that sometimes we as black people fail to push back at racism. Again, the guy is so dishonest and misleads viewers. He's not interested in the truth. According to Jamie, Renaldo's a racist. The matter is settled, done and dusted. What a joke. What Jamie does not share with the viewer is that he himself has an axe to grind with Renaldo. While bemoaning that Renaldo does not speak to the media over this issue, that questions must be answered, Jamie fails to mention that he has made no effort to engage with Renaldo until this ambush interview at an airport. Now, Jamie blocked Renaldo on Twitter. Now, why would he do that if he wanted to have a conversation? He's also rebuffed efforts at conversations with Renaldo in the past. He praises the specter of Sharpeville to point out how this is a moment in history, comparing this trumped-up faux outrage with Sharpeville. That's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. Then he says Sankara is watching, Lumumba's watching, Biko's watching. Seriously? Thomas Sankara, a Marxist who overthrew a government? Now, strangely, the actual policies of Thomas Sankara were not Marxist, but rather very much in line with conservative values. Sankara remains an enigma to this day and an odd person to comment on here. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, geez, the hero worship over an arrogant asshat who blew up the DRC, sent his troops to rape, loot, and exterminate Congolese who are loyal to the government. That's who's watching? No, he's not worthy of any veneration. Oh, okay, Steve Biko, he finally mentioned someone worthy of respect. Now, Jamie concludes, so anyway, I chose to ask him those questions. I think I was respectful. You heard his answers. I don't know what you think. Respectful? Folks, the link to the video is in the description below this video. Go watch it for yourself and see if you think that Jamie was respectful. If he genuinely believes he was respectful, his parents failed miserably at teaching him manners and mutual respect. No, you did not ask the questions you claim were the basis for your ambush. What do I think? I think you have no interest in journalistic integrity. You want sensationalism, not the truth. You've prejudged the situation, and I think you are dishonest in omitting your existing grudge against Renaldo Gouws. At the end of this, Renaldo, for his part, says, thank you, Jamie. I'll see you in court. And there you have it, folks. Mighti-Jamie ambushes Renaldo Gouws at an airport. Watch this video. Feel free to comment on his video, and mine as well. An objective, cogent, honest person would not reach the conclusions that Mighti-Jamie did, because Mighti-Jamie went into this ambush interview with preconceived notions and already settled views on what is and is not happening. And of course, he's kind of the one that started all this, isn't he? Back on June 14th with that tweet.
You can't handle the truth!